Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Friday, December 11th, here in Rochester, Minnesota. I'm Mike Ackerman, genetic cardiologist at Mayo Clinic, and I'm delighted to be with you again for the 42nd, can you believe it, SADS Facebook Live session. So wherever you are across the globe, great to be with you again. I'm on vacation, can't you tell? So can't think of anywhere I'd rather spend the next 40 minutes than a vacation day with you all. So it's great to be with you. I can't wait to see your comments come on in. 40-second session. So on behalf of Alice Laura, our CEO of the SADS Foundation, Sudden Arrhythmia Death Syndromes Foundation, for which we intend to stop, www.stopsads.org, and her team, Aaron Waite, the magician behind the scenes putting this program together, Marcia, our director of education for the SADS Foundation, Jan, our director of development. The SADS Foundation is excited to put this on and have been putting these on almost every Friday since early March. I think March something was our first one. So remember, we started it because of this, not the Vikings, COVID-19. Mask up. I mask, you mask, we all mask together. Some have said that this mask doesn't stop anything. I think that was in reference to the Vikings defense for a couple games ago. But we have another game on Sunday, so maybe there's still hope. But do mask up, put these on. And while you're masking and washing your hands, wherever you are, start giving me your questions, because today is all about you, your questions. As what are you wondering about, thinking about with respect to life, SADS conditions, COVID, and any question that you have, I'll do my absolute best to answer it. Make your questions tight, pithy, word of the day, and that way I can glance over and do that. Social distance, we are all socially distanced right now, but we're very connected, so good to be with you. COVID-wise, we are going to soon cross 70 million cases worldwide. We are going to cross shortly, like by the time this program's over, 1.6 million deaths in the world. In the United States, we have 15.7 million cases. And by end of weekend, we will cross 300,000 deaths in the United States, 300,000 deaths in the United States. We are currently averaging over 2,000 deaths a day, and yesterday we were over 300 or over 3,000 deaths. Just yesterday we added 224,000 cases in the United States. So we have much work to do to follow the simple things: masking, washing, distancing. It actually works, people, and we're going to continue to need that even when the vaccinations roll out, and they will be rolling out. So good news, right? Earlier this week, the first woman, 90-year-old in London, or I'm not sure if it was London, United Kingdom, received the first Pfizer vaccine in a Western country. Today, the United States FDA committee voted 17-4 in favor of fast-tracking the Pfizer vaccine. And that should receive formal emergency use authorization, EUA, from the FDA either later today, if it didn't already happen while I was getting ready for this, or tomorrow morning. And so the vaccine program will start soon in the United States. So there's hope, but we still need to do all those other things. Well, that's the COVID update. Now the next 35 minutes are ours together. Oh, one more thing. I've showed you this before the hours together. This is the Y. Remember, that is way too high on the right, on your right. That was 224,000 cases yesterday. So we have work to do. And families coming on in now, people, they were a little slow to come join us. So, but we have Dana from Ireland, and Carol, and Sunshine, Sandra, others who have not yet done a hello. I'll give you this picture. This picture is for Brianna, in case I might beat her to the punch today. Brianna, that's my son with out in Montana. So I know Brianna is a horse lover and one of that. So, and they're paging me. Can you believe that? They're paging me on vacation time. But that's what I get. So your questions, and we're starting with the top. And I'm just going to work my way down them, and we'll just go and go until the questions are done. But then we're going to have some really fun question and answer session next Friday. I'll tell you about that at the end. But let's start with Dana. Why would you have your ICD turned off for procedures such as colonoscopy? And so the decision about what to do about an ICD during procedures is a good one. It varies from medical center to medical center, from state to state, country to country. People have different approaches. There's sort of a view in general that for procedures below the waist, you can leave the device on. Procedures above the waist, you turn the device off during the procedure. That's kind of started out of obstetrics. If you're doing a C-section, you turn the device off. If you're doing a regular vaginal delivery, you can leave the device on. For colonoscopy, you can leave the device on. It looks like it's colonoscopy is below the waist, or so they tell me. I haven't had mine yet. I probably should, but I have not done that procedure yet. So the why is in case there was any sort of interference, but really if with the colonoscopy, I would have to double check, but I think in our program, we do not routinely turn the ICDs, the devices, off during that particular procedure. Carol is asking about, is the vaccine safe for all persons with long QT? Right now, the vaccine is safe for almost everyone. Probably the one exception is maybe those who have had allergic reactions to other vaccines or appear to be sensitized in that way. But the beauty of the vaccine with a very large safety profile already, tens of thousands, I think 40, 50, 60,000 research subjects received the vaccines. Pfizer won, the mode RNA, Moderna won, and so forth. Excellent safety profile. I'll be getting mine as soon as it's available, and as soon as it's my turn here at Mayo Clinic. I want you to get yours as soon as it's your turn and it's available in your community. The safety profile is outstanding. There is zero QT concern in terms of the vaccine interacting with or aggravating your QT interval. Vaccine is QT safe for all of our patients with genetic heart disease. The Pfizer one, as you know, is going to be approved for 16 years of age and older. Sandra's wondering how the heck am I? I'm really good. So thanks, Sandra. Next, I just went past it. Sunshine. Sunshine has arrhythmogenic cardiomyopathy, or ARVC. Is there any data on how folks with cardiomyopathy are doing surviving COVID? That's a great question, Sunshine. I remember early on in our program, like back in June and May, we were saying hardly any of our patients even have COVID-19. That's not the case anymore. We certainly are seeing COVID-19 being present, diagnosed in our patients. Pleasantly, in our genetic heart rhythm clinic that is comprised of over 4,000 patients, there hasn't been a single COVID-19 intubation, so meaning needing to get to the ICU. The vast majority have been minimally symptomatic or less. I know of one of my HCM families where he was hospitalized, the dad was hospitalized for about a week. And so thankfully, there haven't been significant occurrences. In ARV specifically, there was a concern in theory that if the virus were to cause a significant myocardial injury, which it doesn't do very often, but if it were to do that in somebody who also had ARVC, maybe that additional virus-mediated heart muscle damage could then aggravate and accelerate the ARVC heart muscle disease process. We really haven't seen that, and so that has not been observed from the Hopkins group and their ARVC registry. We haven't seen that, have not heard that from any of our colleagues, so we've been quite pleased that that theory for ARVC families hasn't been borne out and realized. So great question, Sunshine. I can't wait to meet you and your husband, Megan, and your son next year. So looking forward to that. Jasmine from Germany. What is that? Guten Tag. So hello there, Jasmine. Lorraine, diagnosed with CPVT, and she received an ICD 8 years ago, never had genetic testing because no children, but now would like to pursue it. Is it too late to pursue? I have 2 siblings and they have 1, and they have grandkids. Great question. You're never too late or too old to get genetic testing. If you have CPVT or any of our genetic heart diseases, you should be genetically tested. There's just information for us to know. I want to know, even if you, Lorraine, don't have children, I want to know if you are RYR2 CPVT, ryanodine receptor mediated CPVT, CPVT subtype 1, because we might be starting to think differently about yours depending on what your ICD journey continues to be like. We know what the treatment strategy is now for CPVT. We know how good the medications alone, Nadolol or in combination with flecainide, work. And so even if you don't have children, I want to know, do you have it? Do you have the genetic version of it? If so, did it come from your mom and dad? If so, then your siblings have a 50% chance of inheriting it just like you did. If so, then your niece and nephews could be affected. So absolutely, it is standard of care for you to get the genetic test, even if you do not have children. My screen jumps on me. Sandra, pacer replacement October 1st, no general anesthesia, just local. Have we heard of that? Yes. So again, for just generator replacement, they can do it under conscious sedation, local anesthesia, plus some, forget-me-not IV medicine. So that's not too surprising. And so quick recovery, you don't have to clear the general anesthesia. Some people just don't quite like the conscious sedation, and so they get a quick general anesthetic intubation. Jasmine, you're most welcome, and same Sunshine. Greetings to those in California. Hillary's question, and I'm just trying to see how far behind I am already with questions. Wow, these are good ones coming in. Hillary, do I recommend beta blockers for asymptomatic adults? No family history at all, but genetically confirmed as type 1 long QT syndrome. Had to get a pacemaker to counteract the low heart rate caused by beta blocker. Oh, that's a great question, Hillary. Up till now, the standard of care recommendation across the globe really has been for universal beta blocker therapy when somebody's been diagnosed with long QT. It's a class 1, almost mandatory recommendation if you've had symptomatic long QT or your QTC is above 480. It's a class 2. We should think about doing it, is what class 2 means, for those who are diagnosed with long QT but have never had a symptom and their QTC is under 480. I personally think that we're going to learn in the future that a bona fide treatment for some long QT people is going to be no treatment. In other words, what we call intentional non-therapy, preventative measures only therapy. Avoid drugs, don't get dehydrated, reduce your fever, but not intentionally start you on a beta blocker. We're very, very early in this. We've published the first paper, I think, in the world just earlier this year about our experience with intentional non-therapy, not starting you on a beta blocker. And we've done that for very carefully selected patients, as you can imagine. Some of them have selected themselves for this because they've hated life on the beta blocker. And so stay tuned. We're very early. I'm not sure, and I'm not suggesting that no therapy or stopping the betas is the right thing for you. I don't know anything about your QT interval and so forth. But yes, some of us are slowly starting to see, can non-therapy be part of the treatment options for patients with long QT? Robin's going to have the vaccine when offered. Great, you should. I'm going to have mine when offered. We're not going to be mandated to have the vaccine at Mayo Clinic for the staff. Highly encouraged. I'll be getting my vaccine in due order. I think the front lines for Mayo Clinic Emergency Department, ICU, they're going to be receiving their vaccine potentially as early as next week, I'm told. I'm not sure when I'm on the list. Lisa's question is a great one. I've already had COVID. Do I still need the vaccine? I don't know the answer to that. I think the answer is yes. Even those with prior COVID are going to be eligible for the vaccine, and it will be instructed to get the vaccine. But that's not an official announcement. So let's check back on that. Lisa, in fact, that's such a great question that you'll be excited to know that on January 15th, I'm having Dr. Stacy Rizza back. Remember her from July? Infectious disease, one of our COVID-19 gurus here at Mayo Clinic that have been guiding our entire institution, along with her husband, Dr. Andrew Badley, who, by the way, Dr. Badley was just named one of Minnesota's 3 People of the Year. And so Andrew and his wife, Stacy, have just been true leaders for our entire Mayo Clinic enterprise. She's coming back January 15th, and that's going to be a great question for me to ask her. So Lisa, make sure I do, and we'll see if I was right. Maybe I was right on my answer. Greg's asking, what's on the horizon in terms of genetic modification or gene editing providing a potential cure for conditions such as long QT and Brugada syndrome? There was a pretty exciting paper, wasn't there, just recently? I forget what was it, sickle cell? Now I blanking on the disease that was just put forward and published the other day with a CRISPR gene therapy. So gene editing, CRISPR gene editing, pretty exciting. Will it make its way to our genetic heart diseases? I'm a little bit lukewarm. I'd love to be proven wrong and to see it happen. I don't see it. I see a few significant obstacles for that. I do see some new therapeutics on the horizon for our diseases. There's some new treatments being developed for Brugada syndrome. There's some companies with new drugs in development for long QT. There's a company with a new drug, new compound for Cpvt. So 3 diseases, 3 of our diseases, 3 companies developing 3 unique strategies. We have a pretty exciting disease in the dish discovery in long QT type 1 with a unique gene therapy strategy. Now, I can't tell you much more about that until the paper is accepted, and then it will be exciting to share that. That's still, even if our discovery is a good one, whether we can move it from the dish to the human is time will tell, and it'll take a lot of time. So 5 to 10 years plus. But lots of things on the horizon. So thanks, Greg, for the question, and greetings to Veronica, Danielle, and one of my favorites, Princess Mundando. Hello, and greetings to you from Atlanta. And Lisa, to get the genetic test, you can ask your physician. It should be viewed as difficult to how to get genetically tested. You know, we had a program before a few weeks ago with the Chief Medical Officer of Invitae. Invitae has been very helpful to the SADS Foundation. We've had a program before with Ambry Genetics done just recently. Can get genetic testing through them. Other parts of the world, Blueprint Genetics. So it should be pretty easy. If you're having problems, Lisa, reach out to the SADS Foundation. You can get plugged into Invitae. You can go to Invitae, for example, www.invitae, INVITAE, .com, I think, or .org. You can try either one. Full disclosure, I'm a consultant for Invitae. I have no stock in Invitae. Now, never been diagnosed why a person has had a sudden cardiac arrest. That person should be carefully evaluated with cardiac testing and potentially genetic testing, but that should be really done under the direction of a sudden cardiac arrest specialist, somebody who kind of knows the drill on evaluating individuals. Erica has an interesting question. Oh my goodness, these are great questions and I'm running way behind. Great question, Erica, on a relationship between RYR2 and migraine. So RYR2 is the gene that builds a protein called the ryanodine receptor. It's also called the calcium release channel. RYR2, that gene builds that protein in the heart, but not only in the heart, it's also in the brain. The skeletal muscle version of the ryanodine receptor is RYR1. So this gene that causes Cpvt is not in skeletal muscles, but it may be in some parts of the brain. I doubt that there's a relationship to migraine. Migraine is one of those interesting things where I don't know what percent of all humanity is affected by migraine. It's way higher than Cpvt. So you can think about it. Let's say migraine affects 5% of the planet. It's probably a reasonable guess. Cpvt affects about 1 in 5,000 people on the planet. So something that's relatively common, migraine, is going to be commonly coexisting in all of our genetic heart disease patients. So I have about 5% of my long QT patients who have migraine. I have about 5% of my Brugada patients who have migraine, and same with Cpvt. So it doesn't seem like migraine is overrepresented in patients with RYR2 disease or Cpvt. Jackie's expressing great concern about her granddaughter giving birth with long QT type 2. So that must mean your son or daughter has LQT2. I guess is probably going to be your daughter. I'm just guessing. Don't be that concerned. The team needs to be ready, needs to be aware. And I think one of the things that we haven't done so well is although LQT2 women are at greater risk of events postpartum after giving birth during the first 6 months, 8 months of their baby's life, that risk is higher, but we've largely neutralized that risk when we've diagnosed them correctly, treated them effectively. So most of that risk window is because of people who were poorly treated or newly discovered, or that's how the disease syndrome was found in the family. So yes, postpartum is a higher risk window in LQT2 women than pregnancy is, but it's not a spooky risk window of time. So I wouldn't be quite worried or fearful. I'd be asking myself, what treatment is she on? Is the treatment good? Is it a good beta blocker, effective dose, taken every day faithfully, and so forth? So try not to be concerned. I, of course, would be more than happy to do a video consult, telemedicine for your family if desired, and you could reach me that way if we wanted to go into more detail. Megan's sharing with me that she had a son passed away suddenly in his sleep at 19 months of age. And I am so sorry to read that, Megan. And he had a VOS on RYR2 and ANK2. VOS probably variant of uncertain or unknown significance is what that means. The doctors have not done additional testing for the family. Is that gene not as significant? I think it would be way too early to conclude that your son tragically died from either RYR2 mediated disease, CPVT, or ANK2 mediated anchorin B syndrome, previously called LQT4. Your team needs to be doing a lot of work looking at those two variants to decide whether either of them is at all actionable. And you already know that your 4-month-old son has the RYR2 variant, breastfeeding. That's great. I don't know the answer about when you get the vaccine, should you stop breastfeeding? That'll be a great one to ask the team. I think the answer is going to be no, continue the breastfeeding and so forth. But we are going to need to get that answer again from Stacy. And I'll be making sure Aaron and Alice are writing those down because that one's a little bit out of my lane as to how confident I am that I know the correct answer on what should you do if you're breastfeeding when you get the vaccine. Again, Megan, I'm so sorry about your son's death. And if there's any way that SADS Foundation can be of help sorting this out, or that I can be of help, I would be delighted to do so. Hello to Mary from Arkansas. Great to see you join us. Demelza with LQT1, safe to have the COVID vaccine in the UK? Absolutely. I have no concerns. I'm going to get mine. You should get yours. All of us, unless there's a specific contraindication, should get the vaccine. Kara is wondering about, is that for all types, or are there certain types you're studying? I'm not sure exactly the question. I'll see if you expand on that below. That's the first time that the question was too pithy, where I wasn't sure of the context. It may be related to the gene therapies or the new compounds that are being investigated. And oh, I jumped in front again. Oh, how did I get that far in front? There we go. Hello to Kelly and Carrie. Wondering on new strategies on Brugada syndrome. Well, in Israel, there's tremendous experience with quinidine, so not really a new strategy. There's growing experience with the role of RVOT epicardial ablation, so a non-medication strategy for Brugada syndrome. And then there's a brand new paper accepted, discovered by Charlie Ansolovich and his team, with a natural chemical called azacetine. And so stay tuned for more on that. We can talk more on that when that paper comes out. Carrie's wondering about seizure disorder being misdiagnosed as a heart problem. And that's such a good question, because we always have probably once a month a long QT patient at Mayo Clinic or a CPVT patient, those two diseases mostly, where that person or their family, there was a labeling or a diagnosis of epilepsy in the family. And so it is possible that it can be misdiagnosed. Generally, the generalized seizures that prompt the suspicion of epilepsy need to be generalized. So they can't be these things called partial seizures and then wonder if that was long QT doing that. So it needs to be the full-blown head-to-tail generalized seizure that somebody might see somebody seizing and then relate that and conclude that it might be epilepsy, when in fact it might in fact be the long QT syndrome causing a life-threatening arrhythmia that then cause the brain to show its electrical irritation with a generalized seizure. Greetings to Linda and Stacy. Wow, we've got a great group of you all today. Alexandra has a half-brother who had sudden cardiac arrest, and the genetic testing revealed an RYR2 VUS. But then the electrophysiologist diagnosed with Cpvt. His mom and my dad tested negative. So a couple things on there. So if that person has that RYR2 variant, it's called a VUS by a company. That's the best they can call it right now. But then additional testing has been shown that that person's mom and dad are both negative. Then that changes that VUS to strongly leaning towards pathogenic instead of uncertain. Then additionally, I'm assuming that that electrophysiologist put your half-brother on a treadmill stress test, for which on the stress test, he started to show a Cpvt appearance. If those two statements are true, then it doesn't matter that the company called the variant an unknown, uncertain, unactionable variant. We can immediately trump that conclusion and say that's a Cpvt causative mutation. You can bet the ranch on it. For which, even though the mom and dad both tested negative, I personally would have you get tested as well, prove that you're negative, and then done. No risk to you, no risk to your children. Kelly's wondering, staying on beta blocker, been on for 10 years, no symptoms or attacks ever. The beautiful thing about beta blockers is that it is tolerated well, really well by most patients. So unless you're that subset where life goes south on beta blocker and you become a self-proclaimed beta blocker zombie, you know who you are out there, where you've experienced the dark side of the therapy. If you're not experiencing the dark side at all and it's agreeing with your body well, beta blockers are a beautiful medicine. Incredible low risk profile on virtually all body parts, can stay on it indefinitely. And so if there's no reason to be shifting away from it, I wouldn't be shifting away from it. Sandra's wondering whether most genetic tests have the capability of both potassium and sodium channel defects. Yes, absolutely. So any clinical genetic test company that's doing long QT testing is testing for the major long QT genes, of which there are really three majors. And those are the potassium channel LQT1, the potassium channel LQT2, and the sodium channel LQT3. So it covers all of it. Could RYR1 carry significant bone pain? I doubt it. I doubt it. There's really no reason a priori to think that the skeletal ryanodine receptor would do that. Interesting, but I doubt it. Carol's wondering if there's a future ability to look at specific VUS mutations for families with family history and VUSs, like RBM20. So RBM20 is one of the newer genes, actually first published here at Mayo Clinic by one of my partners, Dr. Timothy Olson, found in families with DCM, dilated cardiomyopathy, and arrhythmias. And there's actually an RBM20 pig that has been engineered and is being studied. And so there is some RBM20 research going on right here in River City. In terms of taking a specific VUS, that's what we do in our program here at Mayo Clinic. Patients who come in the Winland Smith Rice Genetic Heart Rhythm Clinic, we study their phenotype, their diagnosis. If we get a VUS, a variant of uncertain significance, we decide whether we agree with that variant grade of uncertainty. Many times we can upgrade that variant just by my mind, to an actionable disease causative variant without much thinking or much effort. And those we just say, company called it a VUS, I call it disease causative. There are others where, no, we really are still stuck in that VUS classification, for which we then work to come up with some research strategies to gain additional evidence to either promote the variant to likely pathogenic or demote the variant to likely benign. And so programs like that are available throughout the world to try to help come to some VUS resolution. Yeah, and Kara's pointing out that she's had LQT2 twice and has given, or LQT2, and has had 2 successful births and postpartum periods. And I think your story, Kara, is the normal story. And we're actually putting our experience out there from Mayo Clinic's entire genetic heart rhythm clinic of all of my long QT moms to show that pregnancy is safe, delivery is safe, and the postpartum period is not near as risky as the impression that's been put out there. And so, Kara, I'm glad your story has been like that. Stacy's wondering about magnesium, and long QT patients take it, and should they? Normally, no. I don't recommend supplements, either magnesium or potassium, for the vast majority of my long QT patients. It's really only a tiny, tiny subset of the very difficult to control long QT individuals where we've added potassium supplementation to keep your potassium above 4.5, or magnesium supplementation to keep your magnesium level above 2.3. But we seldom ever need to use supplements. Oh, Dana, I can't wait to see the card. So the question about transfusions for anemia, no concern with that. Brianna, what makes a VUS actionable? Short answer is when I say it's actionable. Meaning when we feel like we have moved that VUS designated not actionable by a genetic test company, but then that designation has been moved by the phenotyper, by the decoder, by the genetic cardiologist. They state the report, I interpret the report, and genetic cardiologists like me throughout the world, that's our role, is to determine when a VUS and how a VUS is actionable. Victoria is wondering if the vaccine, a flu vaccine based like other flu vaccines, are specific. No, this COVID-19 vaccine is completely different from the influenza vaccine, which we should get. And if you haven't gotten your flu shot yet, get it. Each season's flu shot is based upon the influenza strain and all of that stuff. Get your flu shot. COVID vaccines completely different. There is some data that the flu shot might help you with SARS-CoV-2 infection, but indirectly by sort of giving our immune system a priming of the pump or a test run, so that if we were to see a different virus, there's already been an exercise that the body's immune system has done. But no, you got to get the COVID-19 vaccine. Oh, well, hello to Down Under from Nat. That's great. Try and picture the time there. And is it dangerous to get the vaccine with Cpvt? Nope. So if you have long QT, get the vaccine. Cpvt, get the vaccine. Brugada, get the vaccine. ARVC, get the vaccine. Zinc, yeah, you can spend your money on it. Zero data for zinc for long QT at all. And so, and then are we recommending COVID vaccine for young patients? So right now, Carrie, great question. Right now, the Pfizer BioNTech, that joint company's vaccine, the one that was given to the 90-year-old in UK earlier this week, the one that's going to receive or just received FDA emergency use authorization today or first thing tomorrow. That vaccine is approved for 16 years of age and older. So I'm not sure of the timing or when the vaccine will be approved for younger teenagers and children. That's going to be a while. The good news is the virus, SARS-CoV-2, and its impact on children is very, very weak overall. So I don't see that, but we're going to learn on January 15th when we might expect a COVID-19 vaccine. Well, guess what? Wow. Top of the hour, 2 p.m. Central Time, or if you're in Amsterdam, 9 p.m. in the evening. And my friend in Melbourne, I have no idea. I have to look on my phone. So this concludes SADS Facebook Live number 42. You have invigorated me. That was stimulating to the max. And I leave you with a couple of quick announcements. We're coming to the end of the year. It's been an incredible year in many ways, 2020. If part of your year's Thanksgiving includes year-end giving, consider giving to the SADS Foundation at www.sads.org, or if you like, .stopsads.org. Donate button is in the top right corner, and you can give whatever you would like for a year-end thank you gesture to our organization. Join us next week, December 18th. It's going to be a really, really good one. The vice president of the board, my dear friend and partner in crime, Dr. Susan Etheridge, and I are going to come back for a year-end, the 2020 most asked questions, David Letterman style, 1098-765-4321. So I think you'll enjoy that. We've done that before. And Alice and her team are going to be collecting those from our vault of the most repeated asked questions of 2020. Christmas, 2 weeks from today. Merry Christmas. Blessings to you all. We aren't going to be getting together, but we will get together on the first day of 2021 for a special SADS Facebook Live January 1 New Year's resolution that we can celebrate and do together. So I'm going to give you this one today. Yep, it won't be my granddaughter. It's our Christmas tree. So if you drive past our front yard, you can see our tree. I hope you have yours up. And we're getting close to celebrating an amazing time. We are, I think, to the end. So presently, happy Hanukkah to everyone. Blessings to you all with that incredibly special celebration. Merry Christmas soon as we're in Advent season. And I can't wait to see you in 7 days, or 7 days minus 23 hours or whatever it is. So on behalf of the SADS Foundation, thanks for joining us today. Stay well, everybody. Refuse to fear. Faith over fear. Follow the strategy. Stay corona-free for as long as you can. I and my family are doing our best to stay corona-free for as long as we can, and I encourage you to encourage all of your friends and families and acquaintances to do the same. Put on those masks, wash your hands, stay apart, socially distancing, but let's stay deeply, deeply connected so that we can all do well together. Be well, and see you next week.